Have you ever tried to give your kid a hug when they're in the middle of being mad at you and then they push you away or they hit you? And then a minute later, they're like the sweet kid again, and you're staring at them like, huh? What just happened? Kids need us to help regulate their emotions, but yet it tires us out, wears us out, and we just want to figure out how to get them to calm down instead of getting so crazy and dramatic. And so that's why in this video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to intercept when they're so angry without having to, make the issues worse. So you can watch it, have a couple of ideas, make a note of them on a piece of paper or on your phone, and or you can go to our website kidsmoveandlearn.com, and there's a guidebook, like a little reflection sheet that you could use with this video. And then as you watch the video, take some notes and think about your family or your child and how it can apply to your individual situation. So in this video, I'm going to show you some simple ways that you can reconnect with your child, because at that moment, that child is so disconnected from you. They don't want any of your attention. So I'm going to give you ideas on how to connect when they need it the most. That way you're going to feel more confident about it. Nobody likes waiting for them to cry it out or watching the temper tantrum. And nobody has a magic stick to just make it stop either. So first, think about what that lost moment looks like, right? It's the temper tantrums, or it's the I hate you, or throwing things at you and not wanting to be with you. I call this disconnection. And it's because they just really are not wanting to connect with a person at the time. Let's think about this like in an adult term. Of course, we don't throw temper tantrums, but there are behaviors that you've seen with other adults or maybe among yourself that are a regulated angry behavior. You're trying to talk to somebody at work or someone in your family, and you can tell they're kind of like staring off. And so they don't really seem themselves. They don't seem like they want to talk, and they're not really smiling. Even when you give them a smile, they just like look away. Well, that's probably happened to you, right? Maybe they're angry or they're upset about you or maybe something else. But what happens is sometimes they need time to de-escalate. Sometimes they need to like let off some steam. And sometimes it just takes time to recompose. If you were angry, what would be a good way to get you reconnected with someone? How could they help you? Imagine that. You're really mad at something or someone, and then this person comes in and they want to listen to you and give you a hug and help you make you feel better. And you're just like, get out of here. Maybe you don't want any of that because you just want alone time. Or maybe you want this person to listen to you vent. Or maybe you just want a hug. But they don't know how to do any of that. And instead, they might be trying to give you some comfort that doesn't match your need at the time. So we as adults can regulate those angry feelings and, in a sense, not throw what we call a temper tantrum. For children, they don't understand how to do that. They're still learning their own emotions and then how to regulate what they're doing with other people and other things. And so this is why a disconnection occurs even more. Sometimes with children, they're upset and they're disconnected with you or others around you. When they're not present and when they're angry and they're disconnected, you could talk to them and try to teach them as much as you want, but it's not going to work, because what happens in this stage is the child is really just using the back part of their brain. They're like fight, flight, or freeze part, the primitive parts of our brain. And so you got to like console that part, make them feel safe and comfort and connected. And then you can start to build in all these other things. That's why in other videos, I went into so much detail about what the connection is, ways to identify when connection's not happening, and also some ideas on what activities you could do to build connection. And building those connections during the positive times is what's going to really be needed in order to use those connections during these most rocky water times. So if you do have some notes from some previous videos, take a look at those for a moment and see what one of those connected activities you can use in those routines into this rocky water time. You may have seen these in some of the other videos, what examples of disconnected looks like, because this is when children are not connecting with that adult. They're basically seeking more attention. They suddenly like don't know how to do anything. They have a lack of eye contact. They're maybe angry. They're feeling insecure, like they can't do things, or scared. So disconnected could look multiple ways. This isn't like an exclusive list, but this is a lot of ideas to help you get started in thinking about what disconnected looks like. So, one of the most important things for you is to keep your calm and connection ready so you can de escalate this child's behaviors. Because what's worse is if they're all angry and you're trying to calm them, and then as soon as they're calm, you're angry, that just prolongs the whole problem. So, just give yourself some breathing room. It's okay not to solve the problem sometimes. Let's put ourselves back in the adult role where, you're with people that you love and you care. And you know that you always get a little pat on your back from one of your loved ones when they walk by you. It's kind of this little loving connection routine that you have. Or maybe every time they leave the house, you get a kiss on the cheek or a kiss on the lips, depending on who they are. And it's just your regular connected routine. And maybe when you're far away from them and you can't touch, they blow you a kiss or they give you a little heart symbol. And that makes you feel really loved and connected no matter where you are. For children, they're no different. You're constantly building in these little connection activities with them, and you may not even realize it. The more you build them in, the more it can be ingrained in them to feel joyful and to feel comforted and connected. You can watch one of my other videos to see why that's important, get some new activities and ideas for it. But in this video, I want you to remember what some of those are, and if you have them written down before, or if not, pause it right now and think about a bunch of those connection activities that you do with your child, because that's what we need to think about in this video, is that what ideas and activities are you going to use to intercept that temper tantrum so that you can get it to be in a more loving mode with your child, to get them to feel connected with you and joyful rather than this angry mode, so you can help regulate those emotions for them. When you thought about the list and you have a few key ideas that you know you like to do all the time, then I want you to think about how often do you use them with your child in those joyful, positive moments of time? And if you do use it pretty regularly, then that might be the ticket. And is it a simple activity? And that might be the ticket. So those are the ones I want you to star and think about. So let's think now as an adult. If you're in a challenging time and you're so used to always having this like pat on the back or a kiss blown at you across the room, sometimes some of those things work great, and sometimes those things are a little rocky. So think about what works the best for you. Maybe it's just when you see your partner across the room and they don't say anything for you, then you're like, oh yeah, they're going to help me through this. It's going to be okay. But if they're a trigger for you, or whatever action they do is a trigger for you, then you know that's not going to work and not calm you down. The same thing happens with your child. So think about when you're across the room or near your child and they're having a meltdown. What is it that you can do for them to help reinforce and remind them that it's okay, you're there for them. You're not judging them. You're not going to make them angrier. What are you going to do to help them get calm and feel in that moment? Maybe it's just looking at them and going like, it's okay. Whispering, it's okay. And then the child just maybe cries out for a minute or two, but looks at you, and then things work out. Or maybe it's the fact of, making a little heart with your fingers and letting them know through a heart symbol. Some kids really need you to come in and swoop them up and give them a big hug and say, it's okay, I love you, and it's going to be all right. Think about what works for your child. And if you aren't sure, you might want to go back and watch one of the other videos about where you intercept trying to analyze what the issues are. You try to analyze what works for your child, but it's okay if you don't, and you just take the list you have right now and pick a couple to try out. If you know that one or two of them is probably going to work better, go ahead and make sure that you start using that activity and that connection routine really regularly during the positive, joyful times. Make it become so accustomed to your child that they're happy, they're expecting it, they're loving it. And then during these stressful times, that's the one you're going to use. But pair it with something visual. So maybe it isn't, the heart, or maybe you have to say the word heart at the same time. Or maybe they're even a little bit older and you say like H or H for heart, or L for love, or something. So you give them some other little piece of information that kind of triggers the brain to remind them like, oh yeah, that's a joyful activity. When I hear that sound or that word or see that symbol, it means that I hug and love mommy and I connect with her. And what it does is it tells that primitive part of the brain that's reacting all angry to calm down. It's okay. Like things are going to be all right. You are safe. You're comfortable. You have someone here. Because children are just like animals learning their way around. It's reacting to that primitive part of their brain. And you want to tap into some more of their cognitive thinking skills, but you have to calm that primitive part first. So reminding them of the connection is what's really going to work. If visual cues don't work, like a heart or a sound of, audio sounds, then maybe go ahead and try some actual physical object. So I want you to look at the paper that you got from the guidebook. If you got it from kidsmoveandlearn.com, or on your piece of paper, make 3 little columns right now. We're going to plan this out just a little bit for you so that when you need to use this later during those busy times, it becomes a little bit more embedded into your longer term memory, because I know what it's like as a parent. I forget where I put it, I forget what I said, but the process of writing it down and thinking it through with you right now may actually help you implement it. That art of reflection is going to be so helpful for you. If I just give you a bunch of ideas and without any thought about your individual family, it's really a hit or miss on whether things are going to work or not. And so here's an example of where I took one of the activities that my son and I do in our connection on a regular basis and put that in this connection column. And then the visual or cue that I use during the fun, joyful times and also during the difficult times is making that heart shape with my fingers, because I sing that love song every morning with him. And then this way, during those difficult times, if he's like across the room and I don't want to sing it very loud or whatever it might be, I mouth the words and I make the symbols with my hand. And how I use it with Disconnection is exactly like that. I make the eye contact with him and I quietly make the shape. The second connection activity that we do really regularly is we have a fun song that we just sing ongoing, and it's like a pretty silly song, and you can watch this in another video, but for now, just to get to the point, is that when I want to connect with him and without singing all the words, I might just start humming the song and he just starts humming along. And sometimes we do this in the car, and it could be different times. It's because we have this joyful silliness of humming a song. So how I do this in the disconnected times, when he's feeling a little bit off, I just start humming the song or I make up new words to it, and he just instantly like starts to listen to it. Even when he's still feeling angry, he might pace a little bit about something, but he hears me humming and then he comes back. So what these activities do is bring that connection back. So he's no longer so frustrated and feeling disconnected. He's back to connecting and feeling comfortable. And then I can intercept with all of those other pieces that are needing to be intercepted with. Whatever the reason he's angry or he's not listening, it doesn't even come into the picture yet until I build this connection first. In this video, I explained that recognizing behavior cues can tell you that your child's disconnected. Knowing, that they're not making eye contact or they're not looking at you. And also knowing what kinds of visuals and verbal cues can help address that disconnection and bring them back. Remember, if you really want to make some significant changes, you can go back to video 1, watch them all in order if you want. All of the videos and the guidebook is available at kidsmoveandlearn.com, or you can just take the notes right now that you got from this video, select and plan these connection activities, a visual or a verbal cue, or maybe even a physical object, and think about how they can work in these various settings. Practice these activities in that positive, fun, joyful times, and then start introducing them in those non-preferred times. Don't forget, if you found this helpful, to please like and subscribe and share this video with someone else. Just like you, we're in this together, parents helping parents. Thanks very much, and don't forget to come back for the next video. Bye.